This community update is brought to you by Forward Cody, promoting people, jobs, and progress. Colleges and universities across the country are having to adapt to a new style of learning that they weren't necessarily prepared for prior to the coronavirus pandemic. I'm Wendy Corr, and I interviewed Northwest College President Stefani Hicswa via Zoom about how they are addressing the closure of on-site classes.
You've got a lot of responsibility on your shoulders right now, as does your staff.
We do. Thank you, Wendy, for having me on today. My voice isn't working. I haven't been talking to very many people. We're all teleworking at the college, and we've transitioned all of our classes to online. So it's been a heavy lift, but I'm just so pleased with my staff and faculty's response. You know, the college's focus is to be student-centered, and I tell you what, this is a great example of how they're student-centered. And oh my goodness, I feel for all of the K-12 faculty and my faculty gearing up to be able to offer online. But, you know, it just shows that we care about our students so much that we want them to succeed.
Now, tell me, you extended this, all, of course, broke right at spring break. And so what did you initially do?
So our students were on spring break when all of this was ramping up. And so we just extended our spring break for 2 more weeks. So this is our third week of spring break this week. And then on Monday, April 6th, we will start back up, welcome our students back to classes just as we do normally after spring break. It's just been a little extended while our faculty have taken time to wrap up, while our tutoring services are ramping up to go online. Our library has resources for students online. Counseling and disability services have figured out what they're going to do. I think a lot of those will be more phone calls and Zoom meetings like you and I are doing to do this interview. We can do so much via technology today that it's just amazing. I've had students call me who are in the welding program and said, well, I guess this is goodbye because I can't finish. And I said, no, time out. Our faculty have figured out how to make it work for even you. So we have figured out how to do our science labs. We've figured out how to do our equine classes. We've figured out how to do our clinicals for nursing. So we want all of our students to be able to finish this semester just as nothing happened. And a lot has happened, we know that, but not finishing a semester of a college education would be a huge gap. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen amid everything else that's happening in the world right now.
What about graduation? I know there's a lot of talk and people really concerned about, you know, I worked this hard or my child has worked this hard and now they're not going to get to graduate. But what steps are you taking there to be able to celebrate these accomplishments?
We don't have all of that finalized yet, but we do know we are going to celebrate students' accomplishment no matter what. Our focus is to help them make sure that they can still graduate. And what that might look like will be very different than a traditional graduation ceremony, but we are going to make sure that our students graduate and that they can celebrate. Regardless of what we end up doing, we will end up inviting our students who graduate this year to be able to go through a traditional ceremony next year with the 2021 graduates. Now, college students are a little different than high school students, and I feel for those seniors and the superintendents who are going through that planning process. But our graduation was originally scheduled for May 9th, and so we know that we need to do something different to make sure that we can make this a momentous occasion for these students. And again, the faculty and staff have just stepped up and we are brainstorming ideas, and some of the ideas that they have come up with, I think the students are going to be very, very pleased with what we end up with.
Now, this is such a unique time and I mean, really unprecedented. what about, I mean, things have to go on. College business has to go on. How do you, for example, recruit students for next year?
Our recruiters are working 110%. It's amazing. So we do a lot of it like this. We do a lot of phone calls. So our recruiters aren't able to go to the high schools like they normally would during this time of year, but the high schools are working with us so that we can make some contacts with the students. We this far along in the year, we usually have quite a few contacts with those students for recruiting for next year. And so, in fact, the contact this spring may be better than what we normally do because we work in groups. So this way they're getting a lot of one-on-one contact. Our advising coordinator is also working with our students to make sure that they can get registered for next semester. For the freshmen who will be coming in the fall brand new, we will be doing some things this summer. But for students who are currently here, they should be registering now. And so we're doing training for faculty on the technology so that they can go ahead and have those meetings with their students and make those contacts, and we're going to get them registered for fall.
Well, now what are the plans then for next semester?
Well, we don't know yet. We also have a summer semester that we've got to think about, and we're waiting to see where things are. But I tell you what, Wendy, I'm so pleased with what faculty have done in just a few short weeks to ramp up everything for this semester. I know that whatever comes to us for summer, students will be able to take classes from us and get what they need to be ready to go for fall. Whether fall is live and in person like normal, and we have our regular new freshman orientation where I come in and talk and they see a skit by the RAs and they go whitewater rafting and they get to know each other in the residence halls through various activities, or whether we develop all of that remotely. Other colleges have been doing online education for more than 20 years very successfully, and so we're learning from the best. We're ramping everything up, and so we'll be ready if we need to be.
Well, I have no doubt. Now, after the pandemic phase is over, have you talked about how you're going to make sure that it doesn't get spread further come when things open back up?
And that's certainly what we all have to be conscious of, right? As we go in, we want to certainly shelter in place so that we can flatten the curve like we need to do. But then when we're all able to come back to work and students are able to come back to school, our custodians will be making sure that all of those standards that you mentioned are met. We have a great custodial supervisor. Her name is Mary Ford. She has done a lot of training for our custodial staff, and they're here cleaning now and getting ready for when students and all of our employees can come back. And I am just very, very pleased with the high standards and the level of cleanliness. She's using industrial type cleaners that they use at hospitals. So it's really hospital grade cleaning protocols at this point. And so I'm very pleased. It's just been wonderful. The other thing that we're doing is working on our computer hygiene. So just like the physical hygiene that you're talking about, we know that criminals are out there with cyber attacks. And so we don't want anything to happen with our student data or as they're submitting their paperwork to apply for the college or to graduate. We don't want anything to be compromised. And so we're doubling up on that hygiene as well to ensure that our students' materials will be safe and that their data will be safe. And our IT staff are actually expanding their hours to be able to accommodate students' needs in this time as we move online. We know faculty are going to need some extra support and that students are going to need some extra support as well.
Statewide, I'm sure that you've been in contact with your colleagues and your peers around the state. What are some of the things that they're doing that you can kind of tell us about?
It's been really inspirational to work with my presidential colleagues and bounce these ideas off of each other. And so commencement is one of them. We're all looking within our college cultures and seeing what would work with the student population that we have. So Western Wyoming Community College, for example, has decided to extend their semester into June, and they will have a live outdoor graduation ceremony when it's a little bit warmer. And if they need to still maintain those social distancing protocols, they'll be able to do it. Other colleagues are looking at other options for commencement. Some of the larger colleges have commencement ceremonies in December. And so they're looking at combining the spring graduation ceremony with their December ceremony. So it's been really fun to brainstorm with my colleagues and ask them what they're doing and their different approaches. Many of us are very similar, though, as far as telework and online classes. Some of the other colleges in the state have more career and technical CTE trades kinds of classes than we do, and so they are being very innovative and doing more one-on-one instruction or GoPro kinds of instruction so that the instructors can evaluate and test them at each step in the progress of their completion. So it's been a trying time and a need for innovation in a way that higher ed hasn't normally had to do. But with technology, it's amazing what we can do, and especially if we work together. We're stronger if we work together and capitalize on the amazing talents that we have statewide. Also, I need to give a shout out to Governor Gordon. He has provided some great leadership, not only for the colleges as we continue forward, but also the state agencies and helping small businesses be able to survive during this time. And so I've been very pleased with the governor's leadership and direction as we've gone through this. We have daily updates from he and his staff and Homeland Security on what everyone is doing and how we can help. For example, one of the ways that Northwest College has said that we can help with our Homeland Security team here in Park County, we can be overflow for hospital beds if we need to. We have a residence hall that was empty this year because of our enrollment situation. And so that residence hall is clean and ready to go if we need to use it for overflow hospital space. So that's happening all over the state. And I'm just so inspired by what my colleagues are doing in the community college world and the communities within Wyoming. We really are a state that can pull together and get through anything together. It's pretty amazing, Wendy.
Just one more question. It's going back to the changes that have had to happen this year. Financially, students have paid for housing. They've paid for, their room and board and things like that. They've paid for classes that maybe they're not going to be able to finish. What's the college plan for those things?
As far as classes that they've paid for, they are going to be able to finish, and 100% of our classes are on target to finish on time the first week of May. So that's covered, and we want to make sure that we can do whatever we can to support the students so that they can finish everything strong this semester. So that's not an issue. But what is an issue, as you mentioned, is housing. We closed our residence halls and have asked students to find other options for housing. And so our board last Monday night approved us to offer refunds for those students. So students will get refunds on their housing as well as the meal plan that they hadn't used. So almost a 50% refund, but there are some students who need to stay. They may not have any other housing alternatives. They may be athletes who need to stay because of scholarship purposes, or they may be international students who cannot get flights to go home. We are making arrangements for those students to stay in our apartment type of housing so that they have their own bedroom and only share a bathroom with a limited number of people so that we can maintain the social distancing and hygiene practices that are being recommended. But as you said, we are offering refunds to those students who are moving out. That way, no one will be homeless in this situation, that they will have enough money to be able to find alternative housing and be able to eat for the rest of the semester while they finish their classes. If people have additional questions, we've set up a special email to covid19@nwc.edu, and people can send their questions. But we're completely open virtually, so they can call any number on campus and get to a real live human being at any time.
That's perfect. Stefani, thank you so much.
Forward Cody thanks you for caring about your community. For information about how Forward Cody can help your business, call James Klessens at 307-587-3136 or visit forwardcody.com.